Commander Elena Santos stood at the bridge of the UES Discovery, her eyes fixed on the holographic display, showing an alien vessel unlike anything humanity had encountered before. The ship's crystalline structure seemed to pulse with an inner light, its geometric patterns defying conventional engineering principles. After 15 years of deep space exploration, humanity had finally found advanced intelligent life. Analysis complete, Commander. Lieutenant Chen reported from his station. The vessel's energy signature is off the charts. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Elena nodded, maintaining her composure despite her racing heart. First contact protocols had been drilled into every explorer crew, but theory was different from reality. Open a channel using the universal greeting sequence. The bridge fell silent as the transmission was sent. Moments later, the holographic display flickered, revealing a tall, ethereal being. The alien's translucent skin revealed swirling patterns of bioluminescence beneath, and its 4 eyes regarded them with what Elena could only interpret as mild disdain. "I am High Marshal Zarek of the Valkyrie Dominion," the being announced, its words perfectly translated by the ship's eye. "Your presence in our space was unexpected." Elena stepped forward. "I am Commander Elena Santos of the United Earth Ship Discovery. We are peaceful explorers seeking to establish diplomatic relations with other spacefaring civilizations." The High Marshal's bioluminescent patterns shifted to what appeared to be an amusing pattern. "Peaceful explorers. Your species has barely mastered faster-than-light travel. What could you possibly offer the Valkyrie Dominion?" "Knowledge, trade, cultural exchange," Elena replied, keeping her voice steady despite the clear condescension. "Every civilization has something unique to contribute." "Indeed," Zarek responded, their patterns now pulsing with what seemed like amusement. "Very well. You may dock at our nearest outpost for preliminary discussions, though I warn you, we have little patience for primitive technologies." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Elena and her crew in stunned silence. The coordinates for the outpost appeared on their navigation system, a clear indication that the Valkyrie expected immediate compliance. "Well," Elena said, turning to her crew, "they're certainly direct." "Commander," Security Chief Rodriguez interjected, "this feels like a trap. The Valkyrie's attitude suggests they view us as inferior beings. History shows that's rarely a good starting point for diplomatic relations." Elena considered this. The Valkyrie's superiority complex was obvious, but this was still humanity's first chance at contact with an advanced civilization. "Sometimes the greatest opportunities come wrapped in the biggest challenges, Chief. Set course for the outpost, but maintain alert status. Let's show them what humanity can do when underestimated." The journey to the Valkyrie outpost took 3 hours, during which Elena studied every scrap of data they had gathered about the alien civilization. The Valkyrie appeared to be a species that had evolved in deep space, their bodies naturally adapted to survive in the vacuum. Their technology seemed to be an extension of their biological capabilities, explaining the organic appearance of their vessels. As they approached the outpost, the true scale of Valkyrie engineering became apparent. The station was a massive crystalline structure, easily dwarfing anything humanity had built in space. Countless ships of various sizes moved around it in perfect synchronization, like a mathematical dance. "They're directing us to Docking Bay 7, Navigation Officer Park announced. "The approach vector they've provided, it's incredibly complex. Our conventional docking protocols won't work." Elena leaned forward in her chair. "Then we improvise. Mr. Park, you're the best pilot in the fleet. Show them what human adaptability looks like." Park's hands flew across his console, making split-second adjustments as the Discovery approached the station. The Valkyrie had clearly designed their docking procedures for their own highly advanced ships, not expecting a primitive vessel to manage it. But Park's intuition and skill compensated for their technological limitations, executing a perfect docking maneuver that even the Valkyrie traffic controllers couldn't criticize. As the airlock sealed and atmosphere equalized, Alina addressed her crew. Remember, we're not just representing ourselves, or even the United Earth government. We're representing all of humanity. The Valkyrie may have advantages in technology and space adaptation, but we have our own strengths. Creativity, adaptability, and determination have taken humanity from cave paintings to the stars. Don't let their attitudes shake your confidence. The airlock cycled open to reveal a delegation of Valkyrie officials, their bioluminescent patterns creating complex displays that the translation matrix struggled to interpret. At their head stood a being that seemed more crystalline than organic, their form radiating authority. "I am Protocol's Master Ixel," the being announced. "High Marshal Zarek has tasked me with assessing your potential. Though I must admit, your docking procedure showed unexpected competence." Alina stepped forward, offering the traditional Earth greeting of an open palm. "We appreciate the opportunity, Protocol's Master. Humanity has always believed that diversity strengthens us all. We look forward to learning from the Valkyrie and sharing our own unique perspectives." Ixel's patterns shifted in what the translation matrix interpreted as a mixture of amusement and curiosity. Unique perspectives. Yes, I suppose even primitive species can offer anthropological insights. Come, Commander Santos, let us see what your humanity has to offer the greatest civilization in known space. As Alina and her team followed the Valkyrie delegation into the station, she couldn't help but smile slightly. The Valkyrie's arrogance was remarkable, but it was also their weakness. They were so convinced of their superiority that they couldn't conceive of being surprised or outmaneuvered. It reminded her of countless stories from Earth's history, where underestimated forces had changed the course of events through innovation and determination. The first contact with the Valkyrie might not have been the warm welcome humanity had hoped for, but it was a beginning. And if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was turning challenging beginnings into unexpected victories. Little did either species know that this meeting would soon become far more significant than a simple diplomatic exchange. The galaxy was about to face a threat that would test both civilizations and prove that true strength lies not in technological superiority, but in the ability to adapt, cooperate, and overcome together. 3 months after first contact, the Valkyrie's dismissive attitude toward humanity remained unchanged. Commander Alina Santos sat in yet another diplomatic meeting aboard the Valkyrie outpost, watching the crystalline beings discuss technological trade agreements as if humans were children begging for scraps. The meeting's tedium shattered as a junior Valkyrie officer burst into the chamber, their bioluminescent patterns flashing in what the translation matrix identified as pure terror. "High Council, we've lost contact with the Nexus colony. All communications ceased after reporting unknown vessels entering the system." The chamber erupted in chaos, patterns of light dancing frantically across the assembled Valkyrie. Alina exchanged glances with Lieutenant Chen, both recognizing the gravity of the situation. The Nexus colony was one of the Valkyrie's most fortified outposts. High Marshal Zarek's voice cut through the chaos. "Deploy the defense fleet immediately. These intruders will learn the price of challenging the Dominion." "High Marshal," Alina interjected, rising from her seat. "The Discovery's sensors detected unusual quantum signatures while passing near the Nexus sector last week. We didn't understand their significance then, but perhaps our data could help." "Your primitive sensors." Zarek's patterns flickered with derision. What could they possibly detect that our advanced arrays missed? Before Alina could respond, another officer rushed in. "High Marshal, we've lost contact with 3 more colonies. The unknown vessels, they're everywhere. Our early warning systems didn't detect them until it was too late." Alina activated her datapad, projecting a holographic display. "Our sensors may be primitive, but they operate on different principles than yours. Look at these quantum fluctuations we recorded. They don't match any known natural phenomena." The Valkyrie scientists grudgingly examined the data. Their patterns shifted from dismissive to concerned as they analyzed the readings. "These signatures, they suggest some form of dimensional phasing. The vessels aren't appearing from nowhere. They're shifting between space-time layers. Impossible, Zarek declared. No species has mastered such technology. Perhaps not any species we know, Alina suggested, but the universe is vast, and we've all explored only a fraction of it. The chamber shook as an explosion rocked the station. Alert sirens wailed as the station's defensive systems activated. Through the crystalline walls, Alina saw massive dark shapes emerging from what looked like tears in space itself. The vessels were organic, almost insectoid in appearance, their surfaces covered in what appeared to be living armor. "The swarm," whispered one of the Valkyrie scientists. The ancient texts spoke of them, a species that consumes civilizations, adapting and incorporating their technologies. We thought they were myths. Alina watched as the alien ships engaged the Valkyrie defense fleet. The Valkyrie's advanced weapons seemed to barely scratch the organic armor of the swarm vessels. Within minutes, 3 Valkyrie cruisers had been torn apart. "High Marshal," Alina said urgently, "the Discovery sensors are picking up unusual energy readings from those ships. Their armor isn't just defensive. It's actively adapting to your weapons. Each hit makes them stronger against that specific energy signature." Zarek's pattern swirled with frustration, and for the first time, fear. "Then what do you suggest, human? Our technology is failing against these abominations." "Technology isn't everything," Alina replied, her mind racing. "Humanity survived and evolved because we learned to adapt, to think differently when brute force failed. Your weapons are incredibly powerful, but they're predictable. The swarm is learning from each attack. We need to be unpredictable." "Elaborate," Zarek demanded, their previous condescension replaced by desperate attention. Alina quickly accessed the station's tactical displays. "Your ships are attacking in standard formations, using conventional energy weapons. The swarm is analyzing and adapting to your patterns. We need to kYeah into the equation. Randomized attack vectors, varying weapon frequencies, asymmetric warfare tactics." The station shuddered again as another explosion rocked the structure. Through the windows, they watched as more swarm ships emerged from dimensional tiers, their numbers seemingly endless. "Your species has faced extinction-level threats before," one of the Valkyrie scientists noted, their patterns showing genuine curiosity. "Your historical records speak of wars and disasters that should have ended your civilization, yet you survived." "Because we never accepted defeat," Alina answered firmly. "When technology failed, we innovated. When strength failed, we found new ways to fight. The swarm may be powerful, but they've never encountered human unpredictability combined with Valkyrie technology." High Marshal Zarek's patterns shifted through complex emotions before settling into a resolution that the translation matrix couldn't quite interpret. "Very well, Commander Santos. It seems we have no choice but to consider your unconventional perspectives. What do you propose?" Alina smiled grimly as she began outlining her plan. The Valkyrie had spent centuries perfecting their technology, believing it made them invincible. Now they'd faced an enemy that turned that very perfection against them. But humans had millennia of experience in being the underdogs, in finding ways to triumph against supposedly superior forces. As she spoke, more swarm ships appeared in the distance, their organic forms blotting out the stars. The galaxy's 2 most different civilizations were about to learn a crucial lesson. Sometimes the greatest strength lies not in technological superiority, but in the ability to adapt and work together. The real question was whether they could learn this lesson before it was too late. The command center of the joint Human-Valkyrie Defense Station hummed with activity as Commander Alina Santos presented her battle strategy. The swarm had already consumed 12 colonies, their ships growing more resistant to conventional weapons with each engagement. "Traditional warfare isn't working," Alina explained, manipulating the holographic display. "The swarm adapts too quickly to standard tactics. We need to think differently." She highlighted several smaller vessels in the fleet diagram. "These are our fastest ships, both human and Valkyrie. Instead of direct confrontation, we used them as bait. High Marshal Zarek's patterns flickered with skepticism. Bait? You suggest we deliberately attract the swarm's attention. Exactly, Elena confirmed. The swarm's ships are powerful but predictable. They chase anything that threatens their hive clusters. We can use that against them. Lieutenant Chen stepped forward, pointing to a series of quantum signatures. We've analyzed their dimensional jumping technology. There's a brief period of vulnerability when they phase between dimensions. Their living armor can't maintain full integrity during the transition. The Valkyrie scientists studied the data, their patterns shifting from doubt to interest. The energy cost of such rapid dimensional shifts must be enormous. One noted. How do you propose we exploit this? Elena gestured to a new tactical display. We combine human ingenuity with Valkyrie technology. Your ships can generate quantum field disruptions, while ours excel at rapid, unpredictable maneuvers. We create a maze of disruption fields, then lead the swarm ships through it. Like insects into a trap, Security Chief Rodriguez added. The swarm's greatest strength, their hive mind coordination, becomes their weakness. They'll follow our bait ships right into the quantum disruption fields. The station shuddered as another swarm attack began. Through the crystalline walls, they watched massive organic ships emerging from dimensional tiers. But this time, something was different. The swarm vessels moved with new patterns, showing signs of tactical evolution. They're learning even faster now, Zarek observed, their patterns displaying concern. Your plan may already be obsolete. Elena smiled. That's exactly what we want them to think. The swarm adapts to what they can predict. Human history is full of victories won not through superior force, but through actions the enemy never saw coming. She brought up historical battle records from Earth. The Mongols used false retreats to break superior forces. The Greeks used a wooden horse to bypass impenetrable walls. Again and again, humanity has proven that creativity trumps raw power. And you believe combining our technologies in this way will work? A Valkyrie admiral asked, their patterns showing a mix of doubt and hope. I believe it's our best shot, Elena replied. The swarm expects either human ships fighting like humans or Valkyrie ships fighting like Valkyrie. They won't expect us fighting as one force, using tactics that neither of us would use alone. The command center's alerts blared as more swarm ships appeared. Elena watched their movements carefully. See how they're positioning themselves. They think they've learned our pattern, but they've never seen anything like what we're about to do. Zarek's pattern swirled with decision. Very well, Commander. We will attempt your strategy. But if it fails, it won't, Elena interrupted. Because we have something the swarm can't adapt to. Human unpredictability combined with Valkyrie precision. They can learn to counter either one, but not both at once. The next hours were a symphony of controlled chaos. Human ships darted through space in seemingly random patterns, while Valkyrie vessels generated complex quantum disruption fields. The swarm, drawn to the erratic movements, followed exactly as Elena had predicted. The trap was sprung. As swarm ships phased between dimensions to catch their nimble prey, they found themselves caught in overlapping disruption fields. Their living armor, weakened by the dimensional transition, couldn't adapt quickly enough to the quantum distortions. Elena watched as the first swarm vessel literally tore itself apart, unable to maintain dimensional cohesion. Others followed, their organic hulls rupturing as they were caught between space-time layers. Impossible, whispered a Valkyrie scientist, their patterns bright with amazement. The quantum stress should have killed your pilots. Would have, Chen replied, if we were flying the ships. He gestured to his console, showing the neural interface systems. Human pilots are controlling the ships remotely, their natural intuition unrestricted by physical limitations. For the first time, Elena saw genuine respect in the Valkyrie's patterns. They had achieved what their advanced technology alone could not. A decisive victory against the swarm, and they had done it not through superior firepower, but through the combination of human creativity and Valkyrie engineering. As the remaining swarm ships retreated, dimensional tiers closing behind them, Alina knew this was just the beginning. The enemy would adapt to this strategy, but now they had proof. Together, humans and Valkyrie could create solutions neither species would have conceived alone. The real challenge would be maintaining this cooperation, pushing past centuries of Valkyrie superiority and human stubbornness to forge a true alliance. But as Alina looked at the battlefield, where human and Valkyrie ships now flew in perfect coordination, she knew they had taken the first crucial step. 1 month after their first successful defense against the swarm, the joint human-Valkyrie command center had transformed. Valkyrie crystalline technology merged seamlessly with human neural interfaces, creating a hybrid system that neither species could have imagined before. Commander Elena Santos studied the latest battle reports with High Marshal Zarek. The swarm had adapted to their quantum disruption strategy, developing new organic armor that could maintain integrity during dimensional shifts. But this adaptation had cost them speed and maneuverability, weaknesses that the combined fleet now exploited ruthlessly. The latest simulation results are promising, Elena noted, highlighting a tactical display. The new hybrid fighters are ready for deployment. Human intuition paired with Valkyrie quantum technology. The swarm won't expect it. Zarek's patterns showed approval, a sight that would have been unthinkable 3 months ago. Your species' ability to improvise continues to surprise us. These neural quantum interfaces shouldn't work, yet human minds adapt to them naturally. The station's alert system activated as sensors detected new dimensional tiers forming. But this time, something was different. The swarm ships emerged in completely new configurations, their organic hulls writhing with previously unseen modifications. They're evolving faster, Lieutenant Chen reported from his station, now integrated with Valkyrie crystalline technology. Energy signatures suggest they've incorporated aspects of both human and Valkyrie technology into their biological systems. Elena watched as the swarm vessels deployed what appeared to be organic versions of Valkyrie quantum weapons, combined with the unpredictable movement patterns they'd learned from human ships. The enemy was learning, adapting not just to their weapons, but to their very thinking patterns. Launch the hybrid squadrons, Elena ordered. All pilots, activate neural quantum sync. The launch bays opened, releasing the first wave of joint-designed fighters. Each ship combined Valkyrie crystalline technology with human engineering, piloted by neural-linked humans working in perfect synchronization with Valkyrie quantum systems. The battle that followed was unlike anything either species had seen before. Human pilots, their minds merged with Valkyrie quantum computers, moved their ships in ways that defied conventional physics. The crystalline hulls of their vessels responded to thought as much as command, creating patterns of attack that even the adaptive swarm couldn't predict. Multiple swarm signatures destabilizing, Chen reported. Their organic systems can't process our attack patterns. They're trying to adapt, but they can't match our synchronization speed. Elena felt a surge of pride as she watched the hybrid squadrons work. Human pilots, once dismissed as primitive by the Valkyrie, were now seamlessly directing advanced quantum technologies in ways the Valkyrie themselves hadn't thought possible. The Valkyrie, in turn, had learned to trust human intuition, incorporating randomness and creativity into their once rigid tactical systems. We've lost contact with Squadron 7, a Valkyrie officer reported, their patterns showing concern. The swarm is attempting to isolate and overwhelm our forces individually. Exactly as we predicted, Elena responded. Execute Protocol Omega. The trapped squadron suddenly split apart, each ship activating a modified version of the swarm's own dimensional phasing technology. The Valkyrie had cracked the principles behind it, while human engineers had found ways to make it work with their hybrid ships. The squadron reappeared behind the swarm vessels, catching them in a devastating crossfire. Remarkable, Zarek observed. Your species' tendency to turn enemies' weapons against them. It's most effective. The battle continued for hours, but the outcome was clear. The swarm, for all its adaptive capabilities, couldn't match the speed and flexibility of the human Valkyrie cooperation. Every time they adapted to one tactic, the combined fleet would switch to another, using strategies that mixed both species' strengths in unprecedented ways. As the last swarm ships retreated, Alina turned to Zarek. "They'll be back, and they'll be stronger. But so will we." The High Marshal's patterns shifted to a configuration Alina had never seen before, one that the translation matrix identified as deep respect. "Indeed, my species believed that perfection came from advancing along a single path, reaching ever higher levels of technological achievement. We were wrong. True perfection comes from combining different strengths, from finding harmony in diversity." Alina smiled. Humanity learned that lesson through countless wars and alliances. No species, no civilization exists in isolation. We're stronger together than we could ever be apart. The command center hummed with activity as human and Valkyrie personnel worked side by side, preparing for the next encounter. The swarm had unknowingly done what seemed impossible. They had forced the galaxy's most unlikely allies to not just cooperate, but to fundamentally change how they viewed each other. The next battle would be harder. The swarm would return with new adaptations, new weapons, new tactics, but they would face an enemy that was evolving even faster, not through biological adaptation, but through the power of cooperation, innovation, and mutual respect. The combined human Valkyrie fleet assembled at the edge of known space, preparing for their final offensive against the swarm's primary hive cluster. 6 months of battles had led to this moment. Commander Alina Santos stood aboard the flagship, a massive vessel that represented the pinnacle of both species' technologies. "All hybrid squadrons report ready," Lieutenant Chen announced from his neural-linked station. "Quantum resonance at optimal levels." High Marshal Zarek's patterns pulsed with determined energy. "The swarm has retreated to their last stronghold. Our scouts confirm they're massing their forces for a final stand." Alina studied the tactical display, where thousands of ships formed an intricate battle formation. Human vessels, their designs now enhanced with crystalline technology, flew alongside Valkyrie ships equipped with neural interfaces. The fleet moved as one organism, guided by the combined intuition and precision of both species. "They'll expect us to attack their dimensional anchors first," Alina noted. "So we'll do exactly what they don't expect. We'll bring the fight to their dimension." The plan was audacious. Instead of trying to prevent the swarm from phase shifting, they would follow them into their own dimensional space. The Valkyrie had perfected the technology, while human pilots had mastered the psychological demands of trans-dimensional combat. "All ships, initiate dimensional shift sequence," Alina commanded. "Remember your training. No matter what you see in there, maintain neural quantum synchronization." The fleet vanished in a cascade of quantum energy. When they emerged, they found themselves in a realm that defied conventional physics. The swarm's home dimension was a writhing maze of organic architecture, where space itself seemed alive. Swarm vessels rose to meet them, their biological weapons already adapting to the fleet's presence. But this time, something was different. The hybrid fleet's quantum signatures were constantly shifting, preventing the swarm from establishing clear adaptation patterns. "Execute attack pattern Delta," Alina ordered. The fleet split into smaller groups, each one operating on a different quantum frequency. Human intuition guided their movements, while Valkyrie technology maintained their dimensional stability. The battle that followed was beyond anything either species had imagined possible. Ships phased between quantum states mid-combat, their weapons firing through multiple dimensions simultaneously. Human pilots pushed their neural interfaces to the limit, their minds working in perfect harmony with Valkyrie quantum systems. "The swarm is attempting to collapse the dimensional pocket," a Valkyrie scientist reported urgently. "They're trying to trap us here." Alina smiled grimly. "That's exactly what we wanted them to do. All ships, activate quantum resonance devices." The hybrid fleet ships suddenly began emitting complex patterns of quantum energy. The Valkyrie had discovered that the swarm's dimensional technology had a critical weakness. When enough quantum frequencies aligned perfectly, they could disrupt the very fabric of their pocket dimension. Dimensional stability failing, Chen reported. The swarm's organic architecture is beginning to break down. The enemy ships frantically try to adapt, their living hulls morphing rapidly to counter the quantum assault. But they couldn't match the speed of the hybrid fleet's adjustments. Every time they developed a defense against one frequency, the fleet would shift to another. Their hive cluster is destabilizing, Zarek announced, their patterns bright with triumph. The quantum resonance is causing a cascade failure throughout their entire network. Elena watched as the swarm's massive organic structures began to collapse. Their supposedly perfect adaptive capabilities had become their downfall. In trying to counter every possible attack, they had made themselves vulnerable to the one thing they couldn't adapt to fast enough: unified, unpredictable innovation. All ships, prepare for emergency dimensional shift, Elena commanded. We've done what we came to do. The hybrid fleet phased back to normal space just as the swarm's dimension collapsed behind them. Sensors confirmed what they had hoped. The enemy's ability to phase between dimensions had been permanently crippled. Without their dimensional advantages, the remaining swarm ships were quickly contained and defeated. In the aftermath, Elena stood with Zarek in the flagship's observation deck, watching their combined fleet return home. The Valkyrie's patterns showed a complex mix of emotions that the translation matrix now easily interpreted as pride, respect, and hope. We were wrong about your species, Zarek admitted. We thought technological advancement was the only path to greatness. You showed us that true strength lies in adaptation, cooperation, and the willingness to think beyond established limits. Elena nodded. And you showed us that our creativity and intuition could achieve things we never imagined when combined with the right tools and knowledge. Neither of us could have defeated the swarm alone. The victory marked more than just the end of a threat. It represented the beginning of a new era, where human ingenuity and Valkyrie technology would continue to evolve together. The galaxy's most unlikely alliance had become its strongest foundation for the future. As the fleet traveled home, Elena reflected on how far they'd come. The Valkyrie had learned to value human unpredictability, while humanity had gained access to technologies they could once only dream of. But the most important lesson was one both species would carry forward. In a universe full of challenges, the greatest power comes not from technological superiority or tactical brilliance alone, but from the ability to work together, learn from each other, and face the unknown as one.